everybody, it's Blue Ducky and welcome back to another episode of Doll Comparisons. And in this episode, we're going to compare some different Snow White dolls. We have the Disney Store version, we have that new Hasbro Disney Snow White, and then we have the Once Upon a Zombie Snow White, and finally the little mini animators figure of Snow White. So we'll just check them out, each one up close, to see some differences and some similarities. Okay, first we'll check out the two boxes of Disney Store and the Hasbro Snow White in the box. I've done this with Pocahontas. So like Pocahontas, Snow White has a lot of different character art on the front of the box, while the Disney Store really is just more simple with just colors and her name and little jewels. And then here is a look at both of the back of each box. So like the Pocahontas, the Disney Princess Royal Shimmer has actual photos from the movie, and then it shows the different other princesses in the line. There's 11 different princesses. And then for the Disney Store, it's a photo of the doll, and then you can see a Snow White castle in the background very faintly. Okay, here is a quick height comparison between the dolls. We have the Once Upon a Zombie is the tallest, but that might be because she's on a doll stand. Next is the Disney Store Snow White. And then the shorter out of the three more adult dolls is the Hasbro doll. And then, of course, because she's supposed to be a little toddler, the Disney Animators Snow White is the shortest. Here's a quick look at each face. So they all have brown eyes. Here's a look at the Animators Snow White eyes. And she has very light blushing and pink lips and a little bit of a pink eyeshadow look. Classic Disney Store doll, which has very natural looking makeup, pink lips, blush, and a little like darker brown color around her eyes, which are brown also. Here is the Hasbro Snow White, and she actually has dark red lips and a very slight blush on her cheeks. And then she has like a violet eyeshadow with same brown eyes. And here is the Once Upon a Zombie Snow White, which she's a zombie, so her skin tone is gray. And then she has blue and darker gray around her eyes, and then a red lipstick. And they kept her brown eyes. Checking out the hair on the animated doll, she has the very short curly hairstyle with a red bow in her hair. Very similar is the Disney Store with the red bow and the same hairstyle. Here is the Hasbro Snow White's hair, and you can see a little more pronounced curls around the bottom, and then her bow is actually made of plastic and has some glitter in it. And finally, the Once Upon a Zombie Snow White has a little messier hair, which makes sense. A zombie wouldn't have perfectly kept hair, I don't think. But instead of a red bow in her hair, she has a red rose. So looking at the outfit, we have the classic Snow White dress on the Disney Animator Mini, the blue top with the yellow skirt, and lots of glitter on both the top and the skirt, with little yellow flat shoes. Next up is the Disney Store Snow White. Her dress has velvet on the top, lots of glitter on the yellow skirt, no white trim, but the flat yellow shoes and the red puffy sleeves. But she also has that big exaggerated white collar and a separate cape in red that's made out of velvet. Next up, here's a look at Hasbro's Snow White's dress. So she has a bow on the front in red, which none of the others had, but she still has the red and blue puffy sleeves. The top has a lace overlay, but it's still very glittery. And then if you get down into the skirt, lots of glitter, but also this additional red pattern. It's a forest creatures, some deer and birds. It looks very cute. And the same flat red, yellow shoes with a bow. And with the Once Upon a Zombie, you get like almost the exact opposite in color scheme. The top is yellow instead of the bottom, and she has more of a raggedy sleeve. She does have the white collar, but it's raggedy and not like popped up around her neck. She has a red gem that almost is very similar to the Hasbro bow. A belt that is red and has a little skull on it, and then her skirt is that teal color, which is kind of similar to the blue. It has black patterning with jaggedy edges and no shoes. So, very interesting take with the Once Upon a Zombie. A little different, but very much similar. And also a little note, the only one of these 4 Snow Whites that actually come with a doll stand is the Once Upon a Zombie. As far as articulation goes, for the minis, they have the head and shoulder, hip, and also a knee joint. For the Disney Store Snow White, she obviously can move her head side to side. At the elbow, at the shoulder, and at the wrist, she has a joint, so lots of movement in the arms. For the legs, she has a joint at the hip, and then the Barbie style knees where it's can only bend a little bit, and then none at the ankle. So far more articulation in the arms than the legs. For Hasbro's version of Snow White, she has articulation on the shoulder, none at the elbow or wrist point, and then only at the hips, none at the knees or ankles. And of course, her head can move around, just like all the others. And for the Once Upon a Zombie, she can move her head around, and she has joints at the shoulder, elbow, and wrist. The hips and the knees have fully articulated joint, but no ankles. The one thing I found interesting putting them all together, I noticed that the Disney Animator Mini Snow White, the Disney Store Snow White, and the Hasbro Snow White, all 3 of them are looking off to the side. Of course, the Once Upon a Zombie has glass inset eyes, which are my favorite eyes out of all of them, and they're looking forward. Okay, so my personal favorite face out of all of them is the Disney Mini. I think that's the cutest, but out of the adult Snow White, I prefer the Disney Store face more than the Hasbro face or the Once Upon a Zombie. I think the best articulation has to go to Once Upon a Zombie. Most articulation points and easiest to pose. And my favorite dress out of the 4 actually, I think is Hasbro's dress. Even though it's not like the classic Snow White dress, I really like what they have done with the Hasbro princesses in the dress. That little extra color and sparkle makes it really, really cute. But if I had to pick a second favorite, I think it would be the little animator dress. I think that's adorable. And Disney Store does have like probably this one right here. It's probably the most accurate to the movie with the extra cape and the extra big collar. Okay guys, thank you so much for watching this doll comparisons on Snow White. I hope you enjoyed it. Remember, if you did like it, give this video a thumbs up, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you guys later.